Hello folks, I am the Comics Kid 2099, and as is the policy every Saturday, I am here to talk about an episode of an animated superhero television series. And today I will be talking about an episode of the Legion of Superheroes cartoon titled The Substitutes. I am what I would call a casual fan of the Legion of Superheroes. I really have enjoyed what I've read, but it's not exactly a franchise that DC Comics makes easy to follow. But with the Legion of Substitute Heroes, I was afraid that this episode was going to be steeped in references that I wasn't going to understand, because I have never actually read a comic book with any of these guys in it. I knew the general premise of this team, but I was fearful that this would largely be in-jokes aimed at people who knew everything about these guys. Fortunately, I was wrong. In fact, the premise of this episode is actually pretty simple. The Legion of Superheroes are, well, I don't think they'd want to use the word elitist, but they are very picky about who can join their team. So after a sequence that is longer than it needed to be, we are introduced to 5 characters with, shall we say, useless superpowers. In fact, some of these guys we saw in the episode Lightning Storm, and it is a crime that the kid who held his breath in that episode is not here again. After the tryouts, the Legion of Superheroes team inducts Matter Eater Lad and Starboy into their group, but the rest of the guys that we see try out, Porcupine Pete, Stoneboy, Infectious Lass, Chlorophyll Kid, and Color Kid, they are all rejected. We find out that Bouncing Boy was rejected 4 times before being accepted into the Legion, and then he tells these guys never to give up. Then we get a big terrible crisis out on the edge of Earth's atmosphere where these giant monsters are showing up out of nowhere and are eating the ionosphere. Basically, if they keep it up, the Earth will fry. Meanwhile, our rejects, they all form their own group and go out to do good and fight crime and such. They see a bad guy called Starfinger who they are unable to defeat. The Legion basically dismisses this threat as unworthy of their attention, and then the subs have to find a way to defeat this guy on their own. Turns out his special magic glove thing has been creating these little furry monsters that look like Stitch from Lilo and then they go out into space and they become the big scary monsters that are eating the ionosphere. And so, with some quick thinking from Stoneboy, the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. So the message is nice and cute, and I imagine any little kids watching this will walk away feeling more confident about their lives after being told that they can still do great things even if they are not what society deems as air quotes great. And being genuine here, this really is a great message to tell kids, even if I think that sometimes messages like this should be hammered home at, home, and we shouldn't have a story suffer because it is preaching a message. I'm not necessarily saying that this episode suffered, but I do feel like the whole concept of let's do a story about the underdogs triumphing is inherently let's tell the audiences that everyone is special. Which, like I say, it's a great message, but it's not exactly a new message either. We've been hearing this for a long time in a variety of stories. And boy, does this episode make the Legion of Superheroes look like jerk faces. I guess there's really no way to portray the substitute team without making the main team look like jerks, but they do not come out looking good here. And then we have the sub team, and it's kinda hard to root for them because, yeah, at the risk of sounding like a jerk face, they are pretty useless. What exactly did Color Kid think he was doing trying out for the Legion? And before I go further, I will say that in the past I've thought that some of these guys had powers that are almost more useful than some of the Legion members. Like, why on earth is Triplicate Girl on the team, but someone who could single-handedly solve world hunger on any world is deemed unworthy of joining the team? I see that here, anyway, they are really trying to downplay all of the sub-members as being unworthy of being Legionnaires, even if some of them are more noteworthy than they are here being portrayed as. Beyond the kinda admittedly preachy message of this episode, if you're a fan of any old story where the main character or characters are kinda sidelined for a little bit, while the focus can shift to someone you wouldn't often see as the main character, then you've probably come to the right place. Specifically, this episode reminded me a lot of the episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer titled The Zeppo, but if I'm being honest, the Zeppo was handled quite a bit better than what we've got here. Anyway, there's very little that I have to say here. This is, I think, the first episode that doesn't really focus on any of the Legion members, so I don't really have anything to say about a character going through some kind of arc or anything like that. But there really isn't a specific member of the sub-team who is spotlighted any more than the rest of the team. They all get small moments, and when you have 5 characters all vying for time in a 22-minute episode, that means that none of them really stand out. So once again, nothing there to really talk about. I guess it's cute that the villain is a third-rate villain and the guys who bring him down are third-rate heroes, but that's a parallel that isn't really explored at all, and is kinda in your face in how it is presented to us. At least, I thought so. Overall, this is a really fun episode, but there's not a whole heck of a lot of substance here. Anyone can tell you that it's nice to be nice to everyone and that everyone can be helpful, so I won't say that we needed this episode to provide that message. But it was a fun episode, so I'm basically willing to forgive the preachiness here. So that's it for this week. I will be returning to you gentlefolks next Saturday to talk about an episode of Batman the Animated Series, so stay tuned for that. And then the week after that, I will be talking about another episode of the Legion of Superheroes, so be sure to come check out what I have to say then. And until then, be sure to come back to this channel for more videos throughout the week. And be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss anything from this channel. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.